What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Destiny 2 Black Armory weapon review video. Today I'm going to be going over the Dawning Heavy Machine Gun. It's actually a SUROS gun, which is pretty interesting, but it is the Avalanche. Now, how to obtain this heavy weapon. This is a Dawning weapon, so the only way to get it was from completing the Dawning bounties and turning in the baked goods to the vendors. It was a random tranche of dropping, so since the Dawning is over, there's no way to get it currently, so I hope you kept one with a good roll. I know I have a few good rolls in my vault. This is the one I use for all the gameplay, so let's go over the perks. Comes with adaptive frame, a well-rounded grip, reliable and sturdy, and then we have the SRO 37 ocular, and then the SPO 26 front sights. I definitely want to go with the short zoom versus the long zoom scope. Next we have extended mag, which increases mag size and decreases reload speed, and then high caliber rounds, which knocks back targets and increases range. Definitely wanted to go with that one over extended mag because I don't want that really slow reload, and if I want a bigger mag, I'll just put backup mag on this thing. So next, under pressure, improves stability and accuracy as the magazine gets slower. Pretty solid perk in general. And then we have Rampage. Kills with this weapon temporarily grant increased damage, stacks up to 3 times. Mine currently has a range masterwork, which is pretty solid. Definitely want to be able to smack targets from a distance, and no mod currently. Going over the archetype, adaptive frame, this is currently the only machine gun archetype in the game. It's the same as the Hammerhead and the first initial shots of the Thunderlord. Obviously, that one increases the fire rate, but still it's technically an adaptive frame because it falls under the same RPM. So the stats are fairly well rounded on these type of machine guns. Going over some good mods for PvE, you'd want to go with a major spec because it can still take down those rank and file enemies fairly easy because it is heavy, but it can't do enough DPS to bosses versus other weapons. So being able to take out a lot of majors easy is probably where this thing can shine. Maybe put a boss DPS on if you want to use it against bosses, but I think a major spec will do you a little bit more. For PvP, you might want to go with something like the Quick Access Sling, a counterbalance mod, or the Free Hand Grip. The only reason I would say Quick Access Sling is because once you run out of ammo, you can switch to a weapon very quickly, which is good. So you get like a mini quick draw. So considering you're not going to have ammo in this thing all the time, it'll work pretty well. A masterwork you want to aim for would be something like a handling or stability masterwork, considering that's where this machine gun needs some help. Going over the PvE and PvE side of Gambit, it's pretty useful. Most machine guns can come with perks that help out a lot in PvE and shred through all types of enemies, like melts those smaller tier adds, drop health of majors very easily, and can do well at dropping a boss's health as well. In my opinion, there aren't a lot of endgame machine guns, considering the Thunderlord is the best out there out of all the current machine guns, especially for ad control and boss DPS. Like, I'm not saying it would be bad, but most people would use other weapons that have better DPS, things like Whisper or the Worm. So I definitely take a Whisper over Avalanche when it comes to something like, let's say, Scourge of the Past, right? In Gambit, it'd be fairly solid, like, just all around for taking out minor adds, blockers, taking out those taken enemies when the Primeval spawns up, and do some solid DPS to the Primeval when you have enough stacks. So a PvE God roll would have like a sight that's either short or medium zoom sight. You definitely do not want a long scope. High caliber rounds, ricochet rounds, flared magwell or light mag in the magazine slot, dynamic sway reduction or feeding frenzy in trait column number 1, and rampage or quick draw in trait column number 2. Going over the crucible in the PvP side of Gambit, it's not bad for a machine gun. The thing is, the one thing I didn't like is that the recoil is very ridiculous and not very vertical. You can't control it very well versus, like, let's say the Hammerhead, considering those are the only 2 legendary ones. It just doesn't feel super consistent at a range, but as a power weapon, it can shred through Guardians with ease. Like, it is a power weapon, so that is what it's made for. I've said it before, but machine guns are becoming the PvP meta just because their range stability and the amount of ammo it gives you. Plus, if you have some scavenger perks on, it'll give you even more ammo. So keep that in mind. I'll do that when I pop on the Queen's Breaker, and I'll put on a linear fusion scavenger, and I'll get like 2 or 3 extra shots with it, which is pretty cool. On the PvP side of Gambit, it can perform fairly well. I've seen more machine guns used in Gambit versus linear fusions like recently, and I believe that's because they're more versatile for doing both PvE and PvP versus something like a Queen Breaker, right? Like, you could transition very well from that PvE side. You could be shooting a bunch of adds, an invader comes in, and then guess what? Let's say you have Rampage ×3, you can shred that invader very fast, even though they might have a linear fusion, which is pretty cool. So I think the transition and I think the versatility with it in Gambit makes it a little more viable, especially if you don't have a Queen Breaker and you're not the person to go invade, right? So a PvP God roll would have, again, short or medium zoom sights, ricochet rounds, flared magwell or light mag in the magazine slot, under pressure, dynamic sway reduction or moving target in trait column number 1, and then rampage or quick draw again in trait column number 2. Going over some useful exotics and perks, I can't think of any relevant exotics to use, but any machine gun perks like heavy lifting, scavenger, unflinching, dexterity, heavy ammo finder, any of those will help out your gameplay a lot. Going over my final thoughts, overall, in my opinion, this is the worst machine gun out of the current ones that's available. That's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. You can have a god roll one of these. That's great. That's just my opinion. And like, it doesn't feel as sticky or have as many good perks as the Hammerhead, and the Thunderlord does way more DPS. That's just the way I see it. But again, we haven't seen, like, there's only 3 machine guns in the game. We're definitely going to get more, so maybe this thing won't be the worst. Now that we're at the end of the video, there's 3 things I want to tell you guys. So number 1, my clan, the D1 Fire Team, is looking for active players in the Destiny community. Our members play all sorts of activities from casual PvE and PvP to the endgame content like any of the raids, Shattered Throne, stuff like that. If you're actively playing Destiny 2 and want the benefits of a bigger clan, the link to join is below. We're multi-platform, so we have Xbox, PS4, and PC players. All you have to do is request to join, and myself or one of the admins will approve you. Number 2, if you'd like to know how to support me, there's a link below that says best way to support me. That'll take you to a 4-minute video. If you want to go check that out, that'd be awesome. But if you don't want to do that, you can always like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video, and all that like content creator good jazz if you want to do that. Third thing, Discord. We have a link to the Discord below. Just a heads up, we're looking for anyone with moderator experience to potentially kind of run the Discord. It's not like super huge or anything like that, but for myself, I'm more of a player versus being a manager, you know, so I really don't know a lot about that stuff. But if you are someone who can be a moderator, awesome, just let me know. I know for myself, I'm on Xbox, but if any of you guys would like to talk to me or chat to me, Discord is going to be the best way to do that. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this video. We'll catch you next time.